Okay, chapter 27. The Big Send-Off. Batiste and I really went to town for the farewell dinner. After the men left, I was going to ask Nico if Batiste could just become my permanent helper. He really had a way with food, and I think everyone was getting tired of the ridiculous meals my other helpers picked. For one lunch, Ulysses had picked only foods with cherries in them: cherry Pop-Tarts, cherry pie, black cherry ice cream, etc. Batiste and I oven roasted the last of the fresh frozen chicken. He made a corn souffle using egg beaters and frozen corn with some other stuff. For dessert, we made 3 cakes: yellow with chocolate frosting, devil's food with marshmallow icing, and a pink cake with vanilla frosting and sprinkles for novelty effect. It was a really good meal. Everyone said so except for Jake, who took a plate and slunk away to eat by himself, and Astrid, who was still MIA. Mr. Appleton and Nico had joined forces, clearly. They sat together discussing the trip. Alex sat with them, listening in, and happy, I imagine, at being allowed in on this important conversation. After dinner, Mr. Appleton gave a speech. He stood up and dabbed his forehead with a napkin. "I want to thank you all for taking us in and taking such good care of us," he said. "You are some of the brightest and most determined children I have had the pleasure of knowing. I am proud that you are in my school district." He swabbed his head again. Why was he sweating so much? It wasn't warm in the kitchen. It was chilly, like the rest of the store. Okay, I just want to point out, in one of the earlier questions, it was asking why he was sweating. And I think part of it is because he has this infection in his leg or whatever, and that's maybe what's causing the sweating. But I don't want you to change your answer to that because I don't know that we knew that at that point. Anyway, okay. Robbie and I will make it our mission to find your parents and tell them you are here. The kids cheered. "Can you please ask my mom to tell Mr. Mittens that I miss him?" little Caroline asked Mr. Appleton. "Sure," he said. Then he closed his eyes. He put a hand out so he could lean on the tabletop. Nico stood up. At his signal, Alex handed out plastic flutes filled with sparkling apple juice. By the way, a flute is also a type of glass, for like a drinking glass. "And Mr. Appleton and Robbie, we are very glad you came. It has been our honor to prepare you for the journey ahead, and we thank you very much for taking our letters to our parents, to Mr. Appleton and Robbie." We toasted with our faux champagne. "Okay," Mr. Appleton said, "I think it's time we headed out." The kids groaned. "I don't get it," Chloe pouted. "At least wait until the morning. Nobody travels at night." "It doesn't really matter," Mr. Appleton said. "It's night all the time out there. And less people are out at night, so there's less of a chance we'll run into dangerous people," Robbie added. Chloe shivered. Ulysses was sitting on Robbie's lap. Robbie kissed him on the top of the head. Ulysses snuggled into him and wrapped his arms around Robbie's neck. This was going to suck for Ulysses. They're leaving. "Come on, Robbie," Mr. Appleton said. "It's time." Mr. Appleton stood up. "Thank you again," Nico said. "It's our duty and our pleasure," Mr. Appleton said. His color was not good. He seemed to squint at Nico, reaching out to shake his hand, but he couldn't find it. Mr. Appleton put a hand out to steady himself against the tabletop, but the hand missed. Slowly, sideways, Mr. Appleton crumpled to the ground. I think the question, so here, it's page 238, and I think there was a question about, what happens right before he leaves, and so I'm guessing the answer is that he passes out or collapses or something. Nico, Robbie, Braden, and I carried him back to their sleeping area. "I knew he wasn't feeling up to it," Robbie said. "He has this sense of duty toward you kids, wanted to get those letters to your parents." They set Mr. Appleton down. His head lolled back. He was out. "Do you think he's okay?" I asked. "Someone go get smelling salts," Nico ordered. I'll go, Braden volunteered. He took off for the pharmacy. We need to get him to the hospital, Nico said. He turned to Mr. Appleton. Do you think you could get him there if we made some kind of sled for you? It's not far. It's not too far. No, 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 Robbie protested. The hospital's closed. It was one of the first things to go. There were like hundreds of people trying to get in. It was mobbed. Nico thought about that. I saw him look to Robbie. He didn't trust him. Believe me, I swear to God above, this is the best place for Craig. This is the only place he has a chance. Great, said Nico. His hands were in fists. Braden came back after a while with smelling salts. A little bottle from the pharmacy. I'd never seen them before. Nico expertly uncapped the bottle and held it a hand's length away from Mr. Appleton's nose. He wafted the fumes toward him. Mr. Appleton recoiled. He was super groggy. My gun, he said, and he grabbed for Nico's shirt. Then he groaned, a long, bull-like sound, and he fell back to sleep. Okay, so that's where Mr. Appleton wants his gun back. What are you doing? What are you eating? What are you eating? What is that? Okay, yeah, that's fine. You can eat that. Okay, so he's asking for his gun. I guess maybe the answer is because he's just, like, really out of it and isn't really making sense. That's page 239. He must have overexerted himself, Nico said on the way back to the kitchen. He's sick, I said. Dude, his leg is rotting off, Braden said, always one with words. I don't know, I said. He always seemed stoned to me. Maybe he overdid it on the pain pills. That's possible, Nico said. I gave him a lot of them to take along. Nico exhaled. Now we're stuck with them, he murmured darkly. Don't worry, Nico, I said. Robbie's not so bad. Okay. We assigned watches for taking care of Mr. Appleton. Nico would watch from bedtime until midnight. Robbie insisted on taking the second shift, and I volunteered for 3 to 6 a.m. When Nico told the little kids that the grown-ups would be staying for a few more days, they were delighted. Ulysses started breakdancing, which was just funny enough to break the grimness of the moment. Even Nico had to smile as Ulysses jigged and jagged and did yay old robot. The chubby kid really had some moves.